Angelina Jolie had always been passionate about humanitarian work. Over the years, she had visited countless refugee camps and orphanages, advocating for children's rights across the world. But nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to discover in a small, aging orphanage on the outskirts of Phnom Penh, Cambodia. It was supposed to be a routine visit, one of many in her efforts to support underprivileged children. As she stepped out of the black SUV, her assistant, Sarah, handed her a folder with information about the orphanage. "This place has been running for over 30 years, Sarah explained. They take in abandoned and trafficked children. The director, a man named Mr. Chan, has been in charge for decades." Angelina nodded as she adjusted her white linen shirt. She had always felt a deep connection to Cambodia, the birthplace of her adopted son, Maddox. Something about this country called to her, perhaps it was the people, the resilience, or maybe something else entirely, something she couldn't quite put into words. As they walked through the heavy iron gates, the air felt thick with humidity. A group of children played in the courtyard, their laughter echoing off the crumbling walls. But there was something different about this orphanage. Unlike others she had visited, where children would excitedly run up to her, these kids seemed hesitant. They stared, their expressions cautious, some even fearful. Angelina exchanged a glance with Sarah. Something felt off. Mr. Chan, a wiry man in his 60s with deep-set eyes, greeted them with a warm smile. "Ms. Jolie, it is an honor to have you here. The children are very excited to meet you," he said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. As he led them through the orphanage, Angelina listened to the stories of the children. Most had been abandoned, some were victims of human trafficking, and others had lost their families to war or poverty. Then, she saw him. A boy, no older than 10, sitting alone in the corner of a dimly lit room. Unlike the other children, who at least interacted with each other, he was completely isolated. His dark eyes stared at her, not with admiration, not with curiosity, but with something else. Recognition. Angelina felt a chill creep up her spine. She approached slowly, kneeling in front of him. "Hello," she said softly. "What's your name?" The boy hesitated before whispering, "Kozul." Mr. Chan quickly stepped in. "Ah, Kozul is a quiet one," he said, laughing nervously. "He doesn't talk much. He came to us about a year ago, found wandering the streets. No family, no records. But we take care of him." Angelina turned back to Kozul, offering him a gentle smile. "It's okay," she said. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to." But Kozul shook his head and looked down, refusing to say more. Kozul just kept staring. Then, barely above a whisper, he said something that made her heart stop. "You know me?" Angelina felt her breath hitch. "What do you mean?" she asked. But Kozul shook his head and looked down, refusing to say more. That night, as Angelina sat in her hotel room overlooking the Mekong River, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had seen Kozul before. His eyes, his face, something about him was hauntingly familiar. Unable to let it go, she pulled out her laptop and began searching through old photos and records from her past trips to Cambodia. Hours passed as she sifted through images. Just as she was about to give up, she found it. A photograph from 2002. She was standing in an overcrowded refugee camp, holding a small child. A little boy with the same dark eyes. Kozul. Her heart pounded. How was this possible? She remembered the moment vividly. He had been just a baby, barely a year old, clinging to her. But she had left after that visit, assuming he had been placed with a family. What had happened to him? Determined to find answers, Angelina returned to the orphanage the next day. She asked Mr. Chan directly. "Kozul," she said, keeping her voice calm but firm. "I held him as a baby in a refugee camp 20 years ago. How did he end up here?" Mr. Chan's face paled. "You must be mistaken," he said quickly. "There are many children who look similar." But Angelina wasn't convinced. Later that night, she spoke privately with one of the younger staff members, a woman named Lena. After some hesitation, Lena whispered, "You need to be careful. Some children here, they don't come from where they say they do." Angelina's stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" Lena glanced around nervously. "Some of them were never orphans. They were taken." Taken. The word echoed in her mind. She knew human trafficking was a problem, but had never imagined it could be this close, hiding behind the walls of an orphanage. That night, she couldn't sleep. She had to get Kozul out of there. Angelina contacted a human rights lawyer and a private investigator. Within days, they uncovered disturbing evidence. Mr. Chan had been running an illegal adoption ring for decades, selling children to wealthy foreign families under the guise of adoption. Kozul had been lost in the system, meant to be trafficked, but somehow never made it out. With the help of authorities, the orphanage was raided. Mr. Chan was arrested. Many children, including Kozel, were placed in safe. Angelina sat with Kozel, holding his hand. "You're safe now," she whispered. "And I promise, I won't leave you this time." For the first time, Kozel smiled. Months later, after legal battles and countless procedures, Angelina was granted custody of Kozel. She took him home, not as an orphan, not as a case study in her humanitarian work, but as her son. As they walked through the gardens of her Los Angeles home, Kozel looked up at her and asked, "Why did you come back for me?" Angelina knelt down, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "Because," she said softly, "some bonds are never truly broken. I was meant to find you again." And with that, they walked forward, into a future where Kozel would never be alone again. And that was today's story, one filled with emotions, unexpected twists, and life-changing moments. Sometimes, fate brings people together in the most unimaginable ways, and the past has a way of shaping our future in ways we never expected. What do you think about this story? Do you believe in second chances and the power of truth? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more inspiring, dramatic, and thought-provoking tales, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss a new adventure from Storystorm. Until next time, keep questioning, keep feeling, and keep the stories alive. See you soon. Subscribe now for more powerful stories.